I want to suggest to you today that it's important to understand that behind our synoptic gospels, there is a Hebrew undertext, if you will. There's a Hebrew setting, both culturally and linguistically, that's vitally important to understand the Gospels in their fullness. Now, the Gospels are amazing documents inspired by the Holy Spirit, and they give a variety of reports. And even children can read these reports and come to saving knowledge and faith in Yeshua. But even the most brilliant scholars can spend a lifetime trying to mine the depths and the treasures of the Synoptic Gospels and never cease to find more. Let me read a quote from the distinguished Professor David Flusser of the Hebrew University, for many years professor of comparative literature, and who taught extensively on the Jewish background to the teachings of Jesus, especially the Sermon on the Mount. He writes in his book, titled simply Jesus, the following. He says, "The Synoptic Gospels, when they are studied scientifically, present a reliable portrayal of the historical Jesus." So here we have a quote from an internationally esteemed scholar, linguist, an Orthodox Jew, that, do you realize, directly opposes the long-standing liberal sentiments that in our Gospels we have no reliable record of the historical Jesus, and that the Christ of faith of the church is something mythical, something spiritually true, but not historically based. To the contrary, we know that these Gospels do preserve remarkably accurate details, even figures of speech, and we'll examine some of those in a moment. It preserves even figures of speech of the historical Jesus. Let me continue with Flusser's quote from his book, Jesus. "My research has led me to the conclusion that the Synoptic Gospels are based upon one or more non-extant early documents composed by Jesus' early disciples and the early church in Jerusalem. These texts were originally written in Hebrew. Subsequently, they were translated into Greek, and it is the Greek translation of these Hebrew sources that were employed by our three evangelists. When studied in the light of their Jewish background, the Synoptic Gospels do preserve a picture of Jesus which is more reliable than is generally acknowledged by New Testament scholars." Now, listen to what Flusser says, and this comes from the lectures that he gave over the radio in Israel to the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and was recorded in a transcript of his talk. He says the following, listen carefully, quote, "The spoken language among the Jews of that period, the spoken languages among the Jews of that period were Hebrew, Aramaic, and to an extent Greek. Until recently, it was believed by numerous scholars that the language spoken by Jesus and his disciples was Aramaic. It is possible that Jesus did from time to time make use of the Aramaic language. But during that period, i.e. the first century, Hebrew was both the daily language and the language of study. The Gospel of Mark contains a few Aramaic words, and this is what has misled scholars. Today, after the discovery of the Hebrew Ben Sira, the document called Ecclesiasticus, and of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and of the Bar Kokhba letters, and in light of more profound studies of the language of the Jewish sages, it is accepted that most people were fluent in Hebrew. When we are told in Acts 21, verse 40, that Paul spoke Hebrew, we should take this piece of information at face value." Flusser continues, quote, "This question of the spoken language is especially important for understanding the doctrines of Jesus. There are sayings of Jesus which can be rendered both into Hebrew and into Aramaic. But there are some which can be only rendered into Hebrew. And none of these sayings can be rendered only into Aramaic. So one can thus demonstrate the Hebrew origins of the Gospels by retranslating them into Hebrew. And then he goes on to note that the disciples and Jesus himself spoke what is called early rabbinic or Mishnaic Hebrew, which also had extensive influences from biblical Hebrew. So let's back out for just a moment and see the big picture. What we're proposing is, as I've told you before, we've come to the conviction that these Gospels, in fact, are reliable historical documents. We've come to the understanding that to really appreciate and fully fathom the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, we must know both his language and his culture. We must know the Jewish worldview of the sages, the Jewish customs and practices of the day based upon the Jewish scriptures, the Tanakh, the Old Testament. We must also know the language of Jesus. And this language was Hebrew.